Chapter 48. What happened to my mother? She's been looking in that box so frequently now. Remember, she used to only do it 4 times a year at the beginning of the book. But once she gave Rain back, she started looking in it almost every day. Uncle Weldon and I sit on his front porch on a day that seems too hot for early June. There are still 2 more weeks of school, and every morning Mrs. Cushel opens the windows in our classroom wide, even though bees and flies come in and hum around our heads all day long. I jiggle my feet up and down and watch a hummingbird hover by a geranium plant. It's Saturday morning. Uncle Weldon has just said, "Let's put on our thinking caps." I glance at him. "Why?" "We need to figure out what to bring to your school party. We are going to have a party in Mrs. Cushel's room to celebrate the last day of school." "Cookies?" I suggest. "Chocolate chip cookies." Uncle Weldon smiles. "Good idea. We'll go to the store next week and buy all the ingredients." We fall silent again. Sometimes Uncle Weldon and I just sit quietly for long periods of time. We like that, just sitting quietly, sitting and thinking. Every evening we make dinner together, and every morning we talk about homonyms. On the weekends we go for rides in his truck, to the state park, to the museum in Ashford, to an outdoor music festival. When we were at the festival, we spread a blanket on the ground and lay on our backs listening to an orchestra. "Try to pick out the sounds that each instrument makes," Uncle Weldon said. "Listen for the violin. Listen for the trombone. Listen for the clarinet." The notes soared up to the sky, to the stars. On this hot June morning, the hummingbird darting from one flower to another, I suddenly say, "Uncle Weldon, from my mother's perspective when she went away, why do you think she left her memories behind?" Uncle Weldon turns his head at me the way Rain used to do. "Well, what do you mean?" he asks. I tell him about the box. "She left all of her Rose things behind. Why didn't she take them with her? Didn't she want to remember me?" Now my uncle frowns. "Rose?" he says. "Do you think that your mother walked away from you and your dad? Is that what your father told you?" Yes, I say, since my uncle has asked me 2 questions in a row. Uncle Weldon's face is soft and gentle. He reaches a hand towards me, touches my knee, and pulls his hand back. "Your mother didn't leave," he says. "She died when you were very young." "She's dead?" "Yes." "How did she die?" "She had an aneurysm in her heart. She died very quickly." "Why did my father tell me she left us?" Uncle Weldon shakes his head. He sips his coffee. "Maybe he was trying to shield you. Maybe he thought you would be too sad if you knew she had died." "But he let me think she left us. I thought she left because of me." Uncle Weldon touches my knee again, which is all right. It's just a little touch. "Your father didn't always make smart choices," he says, "but he did try to do right by you." "Is that why he left?" My father looks at the hummingbird. Sorry, my uncle. My uncle looks at the hummingbird. He shakes his head again. "I don't know. We didn't talk about it, your father and I. But I think he thought you'd be better off with me." "Was it hard for him to leave?" "Yes, I think it was." So my father and I have something else in common. We are both brave. Gosh, the guilt that Rose has carried all her life, thinking that her mom left because of her and her Asperger's, and it wasn't that at all. Why do you think her dad didn't tell her? Makes you wonder, is that when his anger began? Was it from his childhood and it just carried over into adulthood, and then when her mom died, it just made him even more sad? It's got me really thinking. which is what books are supposed to do, make us really think, make some connections. I wonder if because of his childhood, when he met her mom, that it kind of made him happy again, and it brought him out of the sadness from his childhood. And then maybe he was a happy dad, father, and husband at one point, but then when she died so suddenly because of the aneurysm, which is a blood clot, and you can die from them very quickly, not always, but many times, if that just took away his joy again. I wonder. Can you make a connection?